Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Circle Up and Get Real, where we talk about things that matter with people who matter. And I guess when I do the recording on my own without having a guest, it becomes an interesting experiment for me to see what comes through me. Because while today I did take a couple of notes because I have some things that I want to make sure I share, it's become more of a practice for me to sort of get out of my own way and allow to come to me whatever comes to me in the spirit of the moment and in alignment with the theme. So today's theme is about convention versus deviation. And I don't know why this is something that came to me today, but I'm going to go with it. So I've been thinking about my whole experience of living, mostly my adult life, but I'll go back any of my memories that I can think of that were, from my childhood, were about trying desperately to be normal, to fit in. I know Brene Brown talks about a fitting in culture, and a lot of that is what I felt I needed to do in order to be accepted, liked, appreciated, not bullied. I was bullied as a kid. And so when you are bullied as a kid, I guess you learn to do whatever you can to not get bullied, which sometimes means you hide your own thoughts and your own beliefs about things or your questions that you have. I know that was what I did. I hid my questions and I tried desperately to fit in. And I just didn't fit in. I could morph into different groups, but I didn't really have a group that I completely belonged in because I didn't really know who I was. I knew I was curious and I knew there was really no place to ask the questions I had because people would get really, at the time I didn't have this language, but they would get weird about having to answer a question. So I just thought, oh, you don't do that here. In a weird kind of way, it sort of was the culture that I lived in, the water I was swimming in, the air I was breathing without even really being able to see it or to understand it. And so as I've gotten older and wiser and had lots more experiences, and now for a living, I work to bring new thought and maybe different ideas to organizations and individuals who are interested in digging deeper than what the surface might tell us. And so I was just thinking about an event that a friend of mine and I put on many years ago now, and we called it the Unconvention. I can remember the people who came. It was really fun. It was an unconvention because it was not conventional and we wanted to have it in a different location and we wanted to talk about different things. And this was probably early in my career. And I thought it was great. I loved it. There was a hand where I was, there was a handful. Yeah, there was a handful of people who seemed to appreciate it and like it. And we, I had trouble growing that community. I remember falling in love with Peter Block's work about community, and I spent time at a coffee shop downtown Fargo for probably 6 months. I just went there with no real agenda or no real invitation. I just said, I want to come here and build community. So whoever's interested in building community, come to this place. I think we met on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. or something like that for like 6 months. And it ended up being the same 6 or 7 people, which wasn't a bad thing. Yet the same 6 or 7 people over time didn't grow, right? There was nothing adding to it. We were all the same people saying the same things, nodding our heads, believing the same things, and we didn't really have an opportunity to grow beyond what we already believed. And while I think that's important, back then I really wanted some sort of new information. I wanted to continue to grow, and I couldn't do that with the same voices in the same echo chamber. Now, I'm not saying echo chambers are bad necessarily because we got a chance to practice using our voices, practice with our perspective. But if the perspective we had wasn't challenged by anything that was different, there was really no purpose to take it into the world. At least that's how it seemed to me at the time. So I've been doing this for a long, long, long time. I've been trying to figure out how to follow my own heart while creating community, being in relationship with people, figuring out how to do my life with others, not on my own. And it's been a interesting journey. And so today I wanted to talk about this whole concept of conventional, being conventional. And I looked it up, and the definition of conventional is based on or in accordance with what is generally done or believed. And for most of my life, I thought I needed to be conventional because it was in accordance with what was generally done or believed. And this is how I was raised. This is, by the way, I'm not dissing any of my upbringing or anything I learned or any of the people who were doing their best to shape me as a human, because I kind of like who I am now as an adult. And that wouldn't have been possible had it not been for my teachers and parents and people who shaped me and formed me. Yet, in the space of people doing the best they can with what they know, if we are trying to mold others in our own understanding, we can't expect them to go beyond where we are. John Maxwell called that the law of the lid. We will only be able to go as far as the lid of the leader. And so those are some of the things that I've been thinking about. Hi, David. Thank you for being here this morning. And chime in if you got anything to add. I love your perspective, and I'd love to have a dialogue. So, conventional was the way I was raised. Normal, right? Be normal. I mean, figure out how you can fit in. And I really love that Brene Brown's done work to call this out. Calling in the calling out culture is another book I've not read the book yet, but I've watched the TED Talk by Loretta Ross. So there are a lot of people who are having conversations about things that are unconventional, out of the ordinary, not regular. Those are all synonyms for convention: normal, regular, ordinary. And so I think there are ways to come out of that echo chamber where we all believe the same way. And I think some of the ways we do that right now are to be angry about what we don't want. And so we might stick our heads out of the echo chamber and see something that's different, and then throw gotcha bombs at it, right? That's different, that's wrong, that's bad, they're not us, they're doing it wrong, they're stupid, whatever. And I think that's a way, certainly that's a way to say you're not like us. You don't do it like we do it. And so I think what I've been thinking of recently is we poke the bear. And I wonder about that expression. I didn't look that one up, but where does poke the bear come from? And why do we think we want to just poke at things to rile things up? I mean, I guess it's to show our dominance or show that we think we know better than you or something. I don't know why we do that. But I think there's another way besides only being angry and poking at something else. I don't really know exactly what it is yet. I don't know exactly what the way is yet. But I'm pretty convinced that what we've been doing and what I've been experiencing and watching and observing is not producing the result I choose. And the result I choose is people who come together in dialogue. Again, dialogue. I know I say it all the time. I've been teased about my use of the word dialogue, but I'll keep using it, because to me the word dialogue is really important, to suspend previous assumptions in order to learn something from each other. Hi, Heather. Good to see you here. Thanks for the shout out here. Dialogue is where we can invite people in, where we can ask for their perspective. And we don't have to necessarily agree with it, at first at least, if we can open a space where they can feel comfortable sharing their perspective from outside our echo chambers. Takes some courage. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And so it seems to me that there aren't a ton of people who are courageous enough to do that. But I hope I'm wrong about that. Please show me that I'm wrong about that. Show me that there are other people who do want to engage in these kinds of dialogues. Because what's happening right now, as I observe, we're getting further and further and further apart. And we are so right about our sides. And so I don't see how that is making any strides toward anything. It feels like it's just getting deeper and deeper into those silos. And again, please help me if I'm wrong about this. And the way we seem to be trying to do something is to poke the bear, poke the other side, throw the gotcha bombs at people, tell them where they're wrong. And I have a hard time understanding that, because to me, it's all about learning. And again, that's my perspective. And I share it with you because I want you to help me see something different. And I think in that space, that's what's most important to me. Here's what David says. Humans have barely progressed past their tribal stage. We are groupish and have a deep need to belong somewhere and in some group. Once you belong to a group, it's natural, unfortunately, to not see other groups as against us or not us. So it's natural, unfortunately, to not see other groups as against us or not us. It's interesting to notice that, because I love that you said, David, we have a need to belong, a longing to be. I do. I have a longing to be, a longing to be in a space where I can be me instead of feeling like I'm not that, I'm not them. You say against us or not us, David. And if what you're saying is the truth of human evolution, then yeah, we humans have barely progressed past the tribal stage. Yet I think there are some of us who are working on that, David. I think you are one, just based on some of the comments we've had in social posts before. There are some of us who are working to, I'll call it evolve, and are, and again, I can only speak for myself, but are working to stay above the line, conscious, which is open, curious, and committed to learning. Because as soon as I say, nope, I know that already, I've shut down the possibilities. And as soon as I say, been there, done that, then there's no reason to get together with people. There's no reason to change my mind. And the only indication that I've been able to see about when I've learned something is when I've changed my mind. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a 180 changed my mind. It could mean, okay, yes, and. The yes, and tactic, which is used in improv comedy for sure, is I like your idea. Yes, okay, yes, and what if we did this? If we did that instead of yeah, but you're dumb and wrong, that's the poking the bear part, right? I'm right, you're wrong. Yeah, but. Yeah, I heard what you said, but. I don't agree. But you're not us, David. And there's another way to do that. There are small, simple ways to try, to attempt to come to dialogue. And what I'm recognizing is somebody's got to go first. Somebody's got to go first. I heard it said one time that the only way to stop a game is for someone to stop. So if we're pushing against each other and we're playing this game of I'm better than you, the only way to stop the game is for somebody to stop, because then there's nothing to push against. And if that occurs as weak or wrong or bad or whatever, some negative thing, then we don't do it because we don't want to appear bad or wrong. And so then we put up this wall and this mask and we try to stay in our own little silos so we don't have to look in the mirror. We end up looking out the window at all the things we've done and all the great things that have happened around us, and we don't look in the mirror to see what could I be doing that could be causing the things I'm upset about, or to be deflecting instead of reflecting. Melissa, we can always agree to disagree and be great friends, coworkers, etc. We can. I love that you said we can, Melissa. That's always an option. We can. We have the ability to do that. But the question for me is, are we willing? Are we willing? So few people in my observation are willing to let the mask come down or let the wall come down, to be able to see who the other human is on the other side. Because we're not normal. That's not normal. We're not normally doing that. It's not conventional to do that. And we are too afraid to deviate. I have on my Facebook cover Dare to deviate. And somebody told me one time, that's pretty bold of you. Deviate is a bad thing. But I looked it up. Deviation means departing from an established course or accepted standard. That's what deviation means. I'm going to deviate from the pathway because there's a detour. And if I don't deviate, I will be sitting in traffic forever. So I'm going to depart from an established course or accepted standard. It's not to diss it. It's not to say it's wrong or bad. I'm making a choice. Heather, communication skills and the ability to really hear others without engaging our own emotions and experiences, without being aggressive and closed. It's a skill. I love that you said that, Heather. It's a skill. And a skill is anything we can get better at by practicing. Throwing a baseball, playing piano, communicating, really, truly communicating. They're all skills that we get better at by practicing them. Melissa says early adopters depart often. The OG of deviation. Yeah, right? So early adopters, Melissa's referring to, it comes from the Law of Diffusion of Innovations by Everett Rogers. And he says that there's a continuum of the way people are. I'll have to look into it more if we're wired a certain way or if we can make different choices according to Rogers. But there are innovators who come up with the ideas, early adopters who see them quickly, early majority who's influenced by the early adopters to take on the new idea, the late majority who will change their minds only because they have to, and the laggards who never, ever will change their mind. And so in that continuum, if you can find yourself, I know Melissa as one, we are early adopters. I self-identify as an early adopter who understands things quickly. I might not always be the innovator of things. That's only 2.5% of a population. The next 13.5%, according to Roger's work, are the early adopters. And Melissa calls them the OG of deviation. I love that because they are the ones who see something different and are willing to risk the wrath is probably a strong word, but the bullying, the name calling of those who don't want to be exposed. I think fear is what holds all of us back. Fear of, insert fear here, fear of whatever. Um, Fear of having other people think less of me. That held me back forever because heaven forbid I'd be a loner on my own. I want to belong, David, right? I want to find a place I can belong. So the only way I could find to do that as a square peg in a round hole was to shave off those square corners. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but at the time, they kept growing back. And I couldn't figure out how am I supposed to fit in here? These square corners keep coming back. Sherry, hello, Jody. I'm enjoying my new normal, 98% me again as I continue to heal from a stroke. Yes, Sherry. I haven't stretched my learning muscles in quite some time. I do not see others as competitors to become better than. Wasted energy. Not productive in any sense. I seek symbiotic relationships. Thanks for being here. And Sherry, as someone who is getting through this stroke, I mean, sometimes things happen and we can think of them as happening to us, or we can think of happening for us. And I'm not speaking for you, Sherry, but you're saying it's wasted energy when we see others as competition. And that could be from a different perspective that you've had that I haven't had. Whatever it was that causes us to wake up to our place in the world, I think can be looked at as a for us. And people who see the world or experiences or events happening for them come out of that victim hole, which is my life happens to me. And that's a really hard place to be. We've all been there. I've been there. Yet when I recognize that I can be a positive deviant, a deviant on purpose, then I have the ability, I have to decide if I'm willing to take that risk. And so I want to share something from a book I've been studying, which is, for me, it's kind of a difficult book to get through. It's very academic. Yet I love Robert Quinn so much. He was on my podcast back in 2020. Robert Quinn is one of my favorite authors, business authors, because he really forces me to think about things deeply. And he's written books called Deep Change and Building the Bridge as You Walk on It. And this one he wrote with Anjan Thakor, called The Economics of Higher Purpose. And as I'm thinking about the economics of higher purpose, there's an economic engine here. The subtitle is 8 Counterintuitive Steps for Creating a Purpose-Driven Organization. And there are so many things I could share here, but I won't today. But it talks about in the book about the conventional mindset. So conventional, the way it's, what did we say? Normal, regular, ordinary, based on or in accordance with what is generally done or believed. And here they talk about the conventional mindset. The typical organization is a structured hierarchy. Okay, typical, regular, normal. People are risk averse and self-interested, i.e., they maximize their own expected utility. They maximize their own expected utility. Expected by whom, I would ask. The next one, people work for monetary rewards and minimize personal costs because doing so increases expected utility. Ooh, doing so increases expected utility. We could probably dig into a lot of these deeper. People compete for resources because greater resources yield higher compensation, organizational power, and other perks, all of which increase expected utility. People hold on to the status quo because they are risk averse, and change increases uncertainty, which decreases the expected utility. And people underperform because they perceive themselves as toiling for others, i.e., they are agents of others rather than owners of principles. So no wonder we are stuck in conventional ways of being and conventional jobs and conventional ways of toiling, the way he says it here. I mean, it should be expected that we'd be here. We don't have positive deviants on every street corner. We might have negative deviants. We might have people, poking the bear, sticking their heads up out of the silos and saying they're wrong and bad. They're not like us, David, right? They have to be wrong if they're not doing it like we are, because heaven forbid we could learn something. And so there are economics in higher purpose, according to the book, which I haven't finished yet, and it's not a new book. It's been around. I'm looking at when it was 2019, so it's not new. But oh my goodness, there's so much goodness here. And what I've recognized by looking back at all the books I have in my shelves that were attractive to me back in my early career, there were some that were way ahead of their time. And consequently, I was way ahead of my time. And I had all of these new ideas and new thoughts to me. And I had no one to share them with because people wanted me to be, again, that was a judgment. People wanted me to be conventional. I experienced the world as I'd get along. What is it? Get along to go along to get along. So I experienced my world as nod your head. We don't say those things here. This is how we do it around here. And I didn't fit in. And there were at least 3 experiences in the last 10 years where I've been asked to exit organizations or situations because I didn't fit in. And in one case, I was told, I've tried to see the world through your eyes, but I just can't get there. And so I'm going to ask you to leave our organization. And wow, okay, that hurts in the moment. And it takes me back to all those times when, as a kid, I thought I needed to fit in to belong somewhere, so I did. Yet I had all this pent up, what would I call it? Pent up curiosity. And I had no place to put it. And so funny, haha, that I became a life purpose and career coach, because that was a place where I can actually ask questions and learn more about the humans around me. If people don't want to do that and they feel called out when questions are asked, then I can understand how they would feel I'm either going to be expected to do more or this is not going to be comfortable. And so they go back into the way of doing things the way they've always done them. So, like it or not, admit it or not, that is a culture. That is a culture of an organization, one that says we do it this way. And it's more of a conventional culture, a normal culture. Nod your head and do it the way we do it. We hired you for your utility, right? The typical organization is a structured hierarchy. Typical, normal, regular, ordinary. If you don't want to play by our rules, then we'll see ya. Because if you don't fit in with who we are, one of us is going to have to adjust, and I don't suppose it's going to be the organization. Unless there's someone in that organization who has enough courage to take a risk, ask a question, speak truth to power, not in a way that beats someone over the head with something, but asks a question, comes into dialogue, works on those skills of listening and questioning and digging deeper and recognizing that together we have a much more opportunity to enhance, maybe, to build something than either of us could do on our own. That's something that the acronym TEAM, TEAM, I've heard it said, together everyone achieves more. And if we're truly a team, not just a group thrown together, we are working toward a common goal. We are doing something so that we can get better at the skills we bring to the table. And I think about WNBA, which is just starting up again. I really love the WNBA. And recognizing how those teams are gelling or not, working to take the strengths of all of the players and build something beyond just this next game, and then build something beyond just this next season, build something beyond what has been, and move us into a new era. I know that sounds a little strange, but it kind of is. And I think those who understand this, who understand that the WNBA is not what it used to be, but it's been built on the hard work of those who came before, to be able to build from that strong foundation. When we build from a strong foundation, we can build wide and broad and high. But when we build from a shaky foundation, it's really no wonder that we end up always being shaky. So thank you for allowing me the space to speak into here today. Thank you to those of you who are here live. Sherry, Melissa, Heather, David, I appreciate you guys being here and just holding that space for me to speak into. Like I said before, I didn't really prepare too much for this, but I really needed to speak about convention and being conventional and normal, because I'm not conventional. And I'm going to build spaces and opportunities for people to explore some of these ideas. On Mondays at 4 o'clock Central, we have the Enlightened Leadership Lab, which is a place where we do just this. 1 hour a week. It's a membership. And we have a pay structure that's pay as you choose. The conventional, normal, regular, ordinary cost is $100 a month. And we're allowing you to pay what you choose. And I'd love to invite you to check that out. Enlightened Leadership Lab. You can go to enlightenedleadershiplab.com/invite if you want to see more about it. It's co-led by Chris Angel and me. We've got that. We've got Purple Dialogue, which is a new podcast just in the works with Norbert Orlowitz and me. And we are talking about things that are created by the combination of two sides, including the color purple, which is created from red and blue. But that doesn't have to be only a political thing, although right now that's pretty easy to see how that can happen. So that's something. Watch for that. You can go to purpledialogue.com and get more information there. I will have another course coming out in the very near future called Real Me Intensive. Melissa, thank you for having been a participant in that course. And Melissa says, we love that you're not conventional. I appreciate it, Melissa, because you are part of my tribe, part of my group. The Bach Flock is what we were calling ourselves, the black sheep and the Bach Flock. That was a funny play on words back in the day when we were working together. But there are opportunities. All those are just some of the opportunities I'd love you to take a look at if anything I've said here today is appealing to you. So I'll end today by saying what I do at the end of all of the podcasts. Just go find a way today to get real, even if you need to dip your toe in your own authenticity. Just see if you can start peeling back the mask and seeing where you're welcomed and where there's some resistance to your unconventional deviation. Because what you'll notice is, I bet what you'll notice is there are more people out there waiting for someone to go first. And maybe that's you. You just need to go first. And you will start attracting others who just haven't known where to go, haven't known where it's safe to expose their true face behind the mask. I know it's out there, and I will provide that space for you anytime. So just subscribe to the podcast, where you can get it wherever you get your podcasts, or my YouTube channel is Get Real with Jody Bach. I think I'm up to 74 followers after 6 seasons because I don't do a very good job of asking. So I'm asking for your help to spread the word about these kinds of conversations, about these kinds of skill building opportunities. This is what I want to help us do, me included, get better at the things we truly want to get better at, not just the things we do over and over again. The things we do over and over again on purpose and with purpose. So thanks, everybody. Go get real. Talk to you again. Bye.